GamingBolt presents the 14 hardest retro bosses of all time. For every boss fight in today's modern age that makes us question our patience, there are boss fights from the old days that did much more. No, these bosses were metaphorical mountains to climb, and by the time you beat them, there was that feeling of something incredible being accomplished. Cthulhu, World of Warcraft 2006. If you were bold enough to battle Cthulhu in World of Warcraft, then you were in for some pain. Introduced with patch 1.9 in 2006, Cthulhu was insanely tough, randomly swallowing select players and digesting them slowly. Such was Cthulhu's power that he could insta-kill raid group members with a single beam attack. Even weakening him for short periods of time did little to affect his health. When Blizzard realized that Cthulhu was effectively unbalanced, it stepped in to nerf him. Those who were there, however, will remember his terror forever. Yellow Devil, MEGAMAN 1987. A regular on our lists about insanely tough and unfair bosses, Yellow Devil was just painful. He split into pieces quickly and players had to dodge by memorizing the pattern of splitting, and hey, good luck with that. He would then reform and fire at you with annoying quickness. You have some time to shoot his eye, but it can sometimes be out of reach for MEGAMAN's buster. Yellow Devil was also fairly tanky, and combined with his continuing pattern, it took forever to finally kill him. Mike Tyson, Punch-Out 1984. Punch-Out is an NES classic which teaches the player all about boxing and knowing when best to strike. It then throws Mike Tyson in his prime and asks you to graduate to Buster Douglas levels of skill. Tyson was brutal, capable of knocking out the player at any time, and lacking any real opening. It was tough, but eventually when Tyson fell, victory tasted oh so sweet. Pandemonium Warden, Final Fantasy XI 2002. An encounter so deviously long that a guild's members fell sick after 18 hours of play. Who else could it be but Pandemonium Warden, the infamous boss from Final Fantasy XI? Pandemonium Warden was absolutely brutal, possessing 20 different forms, each having its own strategy and requiring several hours to defeat. Much like Blizzard and Cthulhu, Square Enix nerfed the Warden and placed a 2-hour time limit on the fight. BISON, Street Fighter II 1991. Before there was a Kuma, Street Fighter II players were in awe of BISON. Bison wasn't like other fighters, his attacks were unorthodox, with the Psycho Crusher capable of ruining your day. However, mastering various techniques, learning his moves and openings, and becoming a better player is what ultimately led to victory. Bison may have been tough, but he wasn't unbeatable. Shao Kahn, Mortal Kombat 3 1995. On the other hand, Shao Kahn was just cheap. Do you like being knocked out of your guard, taking chip damage with continuous shoulder charges, green projectiles, sledgehammer swings, and flying knees? Well, Shao Kahn was more than happy to deliver. Finding his openings was a matter of hoping he taunted you and then delivering an uppercut in the process. Emerald Weapon, Final Fantasy VII 1999. Back in the day, it wasn't odd to see bonus bosses in RPGs that outclassed the big bad. Emerald Weapon in Final Fantasy VII took this to an absurd level though, with a health pool of 1 million and a 20-minute time limit. Its Air Tam Storm technique would deal damage to characters based on the number of materia they equipped, multiplied by 1,111. This then ensured that characters holding 9 materia died instantly. There are definitely strategies to beating Emerald Weapon quickly, but suffice to say that not everyone had access to a guide back then. The Reaper, Persona 3 2007. Persona 3's Tartaros was unsettling enough, but when the chains rattled, you knew something far worse was near. The Reaper is a mainstay of the series, but in Persona 3 it was the first time that players could encounter it by simply lingering in Tartaros for too long. His overpowered attacks, almighty spells, and tendency to show up at the worst times made him especially horrifying. Hilariously enough, it's actually possible to own the Reaper in Persona 5 during flu season, making for an efficient XP farm. Culex, Super Mario RPG 1996. Mint as a Final Fantasy character crossed over into Mario's world, Culex was the hardest boss in Super Mario RPG. Fighting alongside 4 elemental crystals, the collective HP that players had to whittle down was 12,396, though if Culex died beforehand, the crystals would also perish. Possessing no weakness, Culex's attacks are incredibly powerful and can easily fell your entire party if you're not the right level or unprepared. Death, Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, 1989. He may be a side character of sorts, but Death in Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse is a doozy. When fighting him, you'll have to dodge his numerous scythes that move through the air. Then after enduring this and finally killing Death, he then returns as a giant floating head with a second health meter. Oh, you have nothing left after the first fight? Well, GG then. Giygas, Earthbound 1995. Earthbound is one of the most beloved games of all time, but man alive if Giygas wasn't one of the weirdest boss battles ever. Giygas possessed fairly powerful attacks and would take no damage whatsoever at times. So what was the solution for defeating this monstrosity? Well, using Paula's Prey ability. Yes, the same Prey ability that did nothing for the rest of the entire game, that too with no indication that it must be used here. To make things worse, only those possessing strategy guides really knew about this weakness, thus prompting death after death while trying anything that would work against Giygas. Warcraft/Velius, Final Fantasy Tactics 1998. Perhaps the most infamous battle in Final Fantasy Tactics history, Warcraft starts out as a normal dude with overpowered attacks, the ability to heal, and high ground advantage. Worst of all, this is a 1v1 encounter with the player only having Ramza. If he was underpowered, you could neither leave for items or level him up since there was no escape. Warcraft will eventually transform into Velius for the second half, and while you can use your entire party, the villain also gets a few minions who possess some fiendish spells. Suffice to say, this fight really pushed your patience with the game. Sinistar, 1982. The trademark yell as Sinistar approaches, proclaiming, "Beware, I live, will get to you." It's not just that Sinistar is tough, which he is on later stages, it's that he constantly pursues you, turning quickly and coming ever closer to clipping your ship while enemy ships continue to attack. Cinnabombs are necessary to defeat him, and you're essentially racing to mine them and destroy his armor. On the other hand, various worker ships are using the same crystals to repair Sinistar. It's a non-stop fight with nearly no reprieve.